we're back, and we're gonna go through this last presentation, and this one is not very long, but at the end, I'm gonna share what this is all about as well. And so we also want to talk about canning. And so one of the things is we were just talking about how we know that our grandparents, some of us, our mothers, our grandparents, they did all of these things, but for whatever reason, some of us we didn't pay that close attention to it. But these are things that we really need to get back to doing. And so when we talk about canning, canning is a method of preserving food by placing it in airtight containers, usually glass jars, and heating it to destroy microorganisms that causes spoilage. Once sealed, the food can be stored safely for long periods without refrigeration. And I was talking to one of the ladies I know, a lady that I used to work with was saying like, one lady said 15 years you can hold this stuff. I was like, that's a long time to hold stuff. I know another lady, she used to hold stuff anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And so, like, when you think about it, you can can enough stuff and you can preserve this stuff for 2 to 5 years. There are two primary methods. There is the water bath canning used for high acid foods like fruits, jams, and pickles, and then there's pressure canning used for low acid foods like vegetables, meats, and soups. The heat process removes air, kills bacteria, and creates a vacuum seal that keeps the food shelf stable. So why do we can? Why would we can? Now this goes along to what we call prepare, unite, and steward. This is a part of our stewardship piece on the stewardship perspective from Joseph's example, Genesis 21. God revealed seasons of abundance and famine. Joseph responded with intentional storage during plenty, and what was preserved became provision and crisis. And so I think too, this I feel like this helps us with a lot of we're not wasting a lot of food, so we don't waste a lot of food. I know for my husband and our family has gotten smaller since it's just him and us, me and him. And then you still sometimes your mind is still used to cooking a lot of food, but then you kind of end up wasting things. But this definitely helps that process. Stewardship principle for canning: prepare in times of overflow, not just in need. Preserve what God has provided. Don't waste the increase. Stored resources become peace, provision, and stability later. Canning is modern day stewardship, wisely storing in seasons of plenty. So we are sustained in seasons of need. Then the next place of why we can: long term preservation, store food safely for months or years. And this one I think is such a good place right here. Control ingredients, control over ingredients. When you preserve your own food, you know exactly what's in your food. One of the things that is big right now is, a lot of stuff is like you don't know that whether you can eat this food. You don't know what they're putting in this food because they're growing food so fastly. They come up with all these AI techniques and different things to grow food. So now, if we can our own food, we know what's in there. We can put the ingredients that we want in there, making sure that we're having healthier solutions. And then, because how they always say something in the wild, these kids, look, they putting something in this food, right? So we want to make sure that we are in control with the ingredients, no additives, just what you want to put in there. It's cost saving. You can buy in bulk, and then that way you can save over time. And I know this may seem weird, but I know a lady who she actually would can meats. Like you can like she would get roast beefs and different things like that. She would can her roast beef, can whole cook whole chickens, and can that stuff. So that's even a way that you can preserve your canned foods, and then your meats, and when you take it out, it's still just as good and just as fresh as it was. And then it saves you on cooking time. Buy in bulk, save over time. Food security and preparedness. Be ready with food on hand when it's needed. And then just some beginning canning equipment, simple and essential. Must haves. You need a canner, water bath canners. You use that for fruit, jams, and pickles. And basically, I know my grandmother used to have like this huge big pot. So when you do those water bath canners, you don't even have to buy equipment. You just need a big enough pot that you can fill and put your jars. And when we say jars, mason jars, you can get them in many different sizes and be able to hold however many you want to hold in there. Or you have pressure canners, canning jars, mason jars have pint or quart sizes, lids and bands, flat lids, new each time, screw bands, reusable. Types of pressure canners. They have the dial gauge pressure canners, uses a dial to measure pressure, requires manual heat adjustments. And then you also have the weighted gauge pressure canners. And it is said that the weighted gauge pressure canners are best for beginner friendly. So if you haven't really did it and you don't really know what you're doing with a canner, the best ones to get is the weighted gauge pressure canners. Uses a weighted regulator to control pressure, weight gently, rocks to maintain correct pressure. So why is it good for beginners? Self-regulates pressure, less guesswork, no gauge testing or calibration needed. This is right up my alley. Easier to maintain consistent results. Like we've been saying, start simple. Choose tools that work with you, not against you. And so, once again, some of the other essential tools: a jar lifter. Safely removes hot jars. Canning funnels keeps jar rims clean. Because one of the things you want to make sure that those rims aren't wet, because that can cause rust and bacteria. So you definitely want to make sure you're being careful with how you're adding your food products into them. Bubble remover, headspace tool removes air and measures spaces. Ladle to fill the jars. Helpful but not required. Magnetic lid wand lifts lid from hot water. Kitchen towels and cloths for clean rims and handling. Large part, that's if you're going to use for the simple water bath methods. And a timer to track your processing times. You don't need a lot to start, just the right tools and a willingness to learn. And so that's pretty much the part that we're going to do on canning, because I'm not an expert on this, but I wanted to give you this information so we can share with you what is next, right? So next, we're going to have moving forward together in preparation, unity, and stewardship. So for the prepare piece, and this is why we went over the canning, we will be hosting. We have a lady who does canning and dry freezing and a lot of the different things that we've talked about here today. So we will soon be hosting a live canning demonstration to provide hands-on learning and practical training in food preservation. So this will be, we're going to have somebody that's going to come in. We're going to have set up all of the equipment and everything, and we're going to be in the kitchen back there, and we just going to walk through and we're going to actually can some stuff, right? This upcoming session will help individuals and family gain confidence in safe food preservation methods, beginner-friendly canning practices, extending the life of harvesters and purchase foods, preparing wisely for future needs. Our goal is to equip the church with practical knowledge that can be applied immediately in everyday life. And then this is going to be our unite piece. As a church family, we desire to work together to purchase canners, essential canning equipment, and share preservation tools and supplies. So the goal here would be, instead of every family trying to buy a canner or do all of these things on your own, we want to create some type of fund or some type of way, and we'll come up with that, and we'll let you guys know before we have our demonstration, because the demonstration will be toward the end of either the beginning of July, somewhere between July and August, because by that time a lot of the harvested stuff that you're going to want to can will have come out, and then we're going to send out a list. We'll go to farmers markets, and the goal is to get fresh foods, different things that you're going to want to can. Come prepared with what you want to can, and then we're going to do that. But to save on cost, everybody don't have to buy a canner. We want to buy a couple canners, different of the tools that we need. We're going to store it here at the church. Now, if you want to buy your own canner, do what you do, that's fine. But so that we can cut on costs and work together, this is the unite piece. We're going to purchase a couple of those and the tools. These resources will be made available for the members of the church. of our church family to use so that everyone has the opportunity to preserve food regardless of personal cost barriers. And that's what the church is about. Those that have more, we want to make sure that we are have in that place to supply for those that may not have enough. Amen. And so through unity, we can build a community resource system that benefits the entire body. And so even in that, then we can, and that's help us too in our places of filling our storehouses, because some of the things that we're going to be canning and whatever, we can put right into our storehouse for the church. And in times of need, because that is open not just to the public but to church member, if to the church members, a part of our church community. And then steward, we believe in wisely using the resources God has already placed among us by sharing our knowledge, equipment, supplies, skills, and support. We can make food preservation more affordable and cost effective for everyone. Stewardship is not only about saving resources, it's about creating sustainability, strengthening families, and helping meet needs within the community. And we know, because we always say this, charity starts where first at home. So all of these resources and things that we're building, we will have access to those things. Yes, we do want to supply for the outside community, and where, because as a church we're supposed to do that, but we also want to make sure that those in house, that don't have the same amount of resources, or some of our younger women with more babies and different things. For some of us, we're a little bit older and more established, and then we have the younger ones coming in. So we want to be able to make sure that everybody is going to be provided for and taken care of. So, like I said, we're going to be getting out a list to everybody. We'll start doing some research on how much the cost is for the canners, and then we can kind of, as people, let everybody know what that looks like if you want to donate and chip into it, just like we did. And we do want to say thank you all for Generosity Sunday. We were blown away with how much was sown into the storehouse, and so once again, we'll kind of facilitate that in the same manner. You can sow your seeds, put it on your offering envelope, for canners, for purchasing of canners or jars. And I do believe, though, that we have somebody who is willing to donate a bunch of mason jars to us as well. So we're kind of moving a little bit forward already. And we will have a list coming out concerning maybe some foods and different things that you can bring with you on that day. And so be mindful when we have this live demonstration, come dressed comfortably down, something you don't mind getting stuff all over, because we actually are going to do it and be able to walk out with some jars that we can put in our own personal storehouses. Amen. And so that is all we have for today. If there's any other questions.